Welcome to today's explainer. I want you to just imagine for a second that we're sitting together in a really quiet room. Outside, there's just the distant sound of rain. And on the table, right between us, there's this photograph. It's slightly faded, kind of cast in this warm amber light with deep ash gray shadows. But the face in that photograph, it's completely unrecognizable. It doesn't have a name. And somewhere out there right now, there's a grave with a name carved into stone that literally no living person recognizes anymore. No one visits it, no one speaks that name. It's a really haunting reality when you stop and think about it. The person who walked and loved and feared and wanted, just completely erased. So today we're going to explore what is probably the quietest, heaviest dread that exists within human consciousness. So the crucial point we really have to begin with here is that the permanent erasure of a life, it's not actually caused by physical death. I mean, death came first, sure, but the true erasure, the real end, happens with the devastating silence that follows when a memory is lost, by forgetting. If you just sit with the image of that nameless stone long enough, you'll feel something really old and quiet stirring right near the surface of your mind.
Part 1. The terror beneath the surface.
Look, most of us don't usually walk around consciously terrified of being forgotten, right? It rarely announces itself directly like that. Instead, our daily lives are essentially broken down into these unconscious negotiations with oblivion. Think about it. That person working 70-hour weeks, it's not purely for the paycheck. It's because achievement feels like evidence. It's proof of existence. Or what about the parent photographing absolutely every single moment of their kid's life? It's this desperate wish to freeze time, to somehow hold on to what just refuses to stay. And that compulsive need some of us have to write, to build, to create, it's really driven by the hope that a created thing can survive its creator. These aren't just, hobbies or strong work ethics. They're pleas to leave evidence that we actually mattered.
Part 2. Where it comes from. To really grasp this dread, we have to recognize that this fear is uniquely human. We are literally the only species that can sit in perfect physical safety and still know with complete cognitive clarity that one day we'll just cease to exist. The psychologist Ernest Becker actually spent his entire life studying this, and his conclusion was pretty staggering. He found that virtually all of human culture, our art, our religion, our obsession with legacy building, is driven at its root by the attempt to symbolically transcend death. It's all just a mechanism to outlast our fragile bodies. Just look at how this builds across human history. Go back 40,000 years ago. Human hands were pressed against stone, traced in ochre and cave ash. Now that wasn't just decorative. It was completely existential. It was a gesture saying, I was here. Now jump to the present day. Think about every social media post, every carved monument, every single name carved into the bark of a tree. The medium has completely changed. Yeah, but the message? It hasn't moved an inch. It's the exact same plea. I was here. Please, do not let me disappear. Part 3. The shapes it takes. This sphere is an absolute master of disguise. It almost never actually looks like fear because it wears these really sophisticated masks that prevent us from identifying the true source of our panic. But sometimes underneath that perfect composure, underneath all the performing and the socializing we do, there's just this one quiet, constant question. Will anyone remember me when I'm gone? It's a remarkably heavy existential weight to carry around. When we actually look at the faces of this fear, we start to see how it manifests in our everyday lives. It looks like the relentless pursuit of status, collecting titles and credentials, not because they make us content, but as a kind of ballast against the lightness of impermanence. It also looks like the panic of living an unrecorded, ordinary life, that creeping dread that being unremarkable somehow means you're already as good as gone. And it looks like the absolute terror of being seamlessly replaced, just that core anxiety that when you leave a workplace or a relationship or even this earth, the space you occupied is just going to close up smoothly and indifferently, as if you were never even there. Part 4. The philosophical reckoning. History's greatest minds have wrestled with this exact tension for centuries. It's this tug of war between our desperate desire for meaning and the cold, hard fact of our mortality. On one side, you've got the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius. He counseled total surrender. He knew that Alexander the Great and Caesar and all their conquered worlds eventually dissolved into the exact same silence. His advice? Just stop measuring the worth of your life by how long its echo travels. But then, on the other side, you have the existentialists, people like Sartre and Camus, who pushed back hard. They argued for defiant creation. They believed that in a totally indifferent universe, reaching for significance anyway is the absolute highest expression of human consciousness. And honestly, most of us spend our entire lives oscillating right between those two extremes. Part 5. What forgetting actually means. Acknowledging this fear is so deeply important because the wish to matter, it isn't some pathetic ego trip. It's the beautiful, entirely natural response of a conscious being that is capable of love and loss. You just want those capacities to have meant something. Consider this thought for a moment. You will change people who will change people who will change people. The ripple does not announce itself. I love that because it completely reframes legacy. Memory isn't always preserved in tall stone monuments. Mattering is not the same thing as being remembered by name. Legacy is actually preserved in the invisible shaping of relationships. It's in a preference someone developed entirely because of you. It's in a shared phrase you gave them. It's in the specific warmth and intention you brought into a room. Part 6. Learning to carry it. So, how do we actually learn to carry this? Well, the deepest antidote to this dread is definitely not fame. It's not some monumental historical legacy. The people who are most remembered, by the ones who actually knew them, are rarely the ones who built the most impressive architecture of achievement. They're simply the people who made others feel that they genuinely mattered. The most lasting thing you can leave is not a name. It's the experience deep inside someone else's interior life of having been truly seen. And perhaps that has always been enough. Perhaps the whole of human longing, all the reaching, the desperate, beautiful insistence on meaning, maybe it was never really about being remembered at all. Maybe it was just about having mattered, while you were here, to someone, in the only time there ever was. So I'll leave you with this to think about. When the time comes to let go of the impossible need to be remembered forever, what is the quiet, invisible warmth you are leaving in the room today?